駆け抜け青春スパーキング。それじゃお兄ちゃん、私行ってくるね。
Thank you for leaving the house to me, Ritsu. Yeah, I mean, sorry about this.
いやいや、私もお邪魔したくないし。
Yeah, this time, it's not teasing.
兄のそういう時の声、聞きたくもないし。
Like I said, there's no guarantee that's going to happen.
とか言って、お兄ちゃんはすっかりその気なんでしょ？
Yeah, Ritsu understands that this is the natural flow of visual novels, alright? She knows that this is the expected time for you to do it with Riri.
じゃなきゃ今日はちょっと出てくれなんて私に言わないもん。頑張ってね、マイ兄。運を祈る。
I don't need your luck. Ritsu left, seemingly on her way to Hibiki's, which left me all alone. And then, after they eventually do it, they come back. They come out of the room and they see Ritsu and Hibiki in the living room. Oh, I didn't. Oh, hey guys. How is you know. It's embarrassing she saw right through me, but I'm grateful all the same. Like she wasn't going to? What do you mean? Thanks to that, I could welcome Riri over by myself. Maybe I should do another round of cleaning. Riri was set to arrive in the next hour. And it was likely going to be the longest hour of my life. That wasn't so bad in its own right, though. This is another page out of my youth, huh? Would likely look back on this moment fondly later. The day of my first time, where I had been waiting for Riri like this. With that being the case, I cleaned my room over again, and got tea prepared and otherwise. I was ultimately left with nothing more to do and sit around restlessly. Then 10 minutes before our arranged time.
ごめんください。柏です。
She was finally here. 10 minutes early? I was expecting at least 30 minutes early. My heart was racing feverishly in my chest.
お邪魔します、ゆうくん。今日はお招きくださってありがとうございます。
Yeah, you're always so punctual, Riri.
約束には早くついているようにとしつけられていますので。あ、でも少し早すぎましたか？
Not at all. It actually makes me happy since I get to see your face that much sooner.
もう、ゆうくんたら、そんなことりっちゃんに聞かれたら恥ずかしいですよ。で、そうです。りっちゃんにもご挨拶をしないと。
Oh, Ritsu's out for the day. For obvious reasons.
そうなんですか？
Yeah, she's hanging out over at Hibiki's house, and definitely won't come over again once they know the coast is clear for them to, you know, listen in on you and Riri's bedroom activities. She said she's going to stay over tonight. Riri's eyes went wide, like she hadn't expected this.
それじゃあ、今日は二人きりってことですか？
Yeah. Ruri's face burst out with red.
そうですか。はい。
Well, I'll make her some tea for now. I thought you already made tea. Would you wait for me in the would you wait for me in my would you wait for me in my room?
はい。ゆうくんのお部屋。ゆうくんのお部屋で。
I watched off to the side as Riri clumsily made her way toward my bedroom. She seemed to have figured out what I had in mind when I asked her over. She doesn't seem opposed to the idea, at least. It should have shown in her demeanor if she were. Meaning, it was alright. Things were working out. I carefully prepared the tea as my heart pounded harder by the second. It is? I'm glad. We both drank from our teacups. Ruri had taken a seat on the bed and was waiting for me. Well, the only other place to sit was the chair at my desk, so that only made sense. Ruri was sitting on the bed. On my bed. That made my heart race harder and harder. After all, she was sitting somewhere we could transition into those sorts of activities at any time. Not to mention, she'd done it herself. That likely meant... Yeah, you're welcome. Alright, I'll collect the cups, okay? Since there's nowhere to set them. I took Riri's teacup and set it on the desk. In doing so, Riri shrunk into herself and looked down. I could tell just by looking at her that her heart was racing. That she was self-conscious. Even so, she continued to sit on the bed. Alright, in that case. Is it okay if I sit next to you? Reassured by her reply, I slowly took a seat beside Riri. I could tell that she had stiffened up a bit. Yikes. Riri was so tense. I couldn't help but go stiff as a board as well. In what sense? In where are you stiff as a board? That didn't matter though. I needed to get Riri to relax. Otherwise, I'd never established that sort of mood. Or something like that. Yeah. Do you want to hold hands, Riri? Then, should I not? Ruri stared at our joined hands. I could practically see the tension fading away with each passing second. In fact, before long, she started to lean against my shoulder, a little at a time. Everything we have done up until now had led to this moment. We had done things a little out of order, but even so, we had built up a number of couple-like experiences over time. Yeah, most of those experiences witnessed by the other club members. Ruri had been touch and go about holding hands at first, but now she was like this. So, she was giving me the green light, right? I could take one more step. Just the two of us, alone in my house, on my bed. If Riri was charmed with me then, this would be okay. Riri. I pushed Riri down onto the bed. She easily flopped backward and gazed up at me. I hung over her and... Riri, Riri, today, I want you... Push. Riri pushed me aside by the chest as hard as she could. Huh?
私
Riri jumped up from the bed as if to drive me away.
ごめんなさい。今日は帰らせてください。
Oh, well, unlucky. She proceeded to rush away. I was too shocked for my brain to properly form words. For a while, I was just plain dumbfounded. She rejected me. I managed to make sense of everything after a few minutes and had passed. She had rejected me and ran home. What did I do wrong? She seemed like she was into it. She was. It's just, you know, she had second thoughts. Riri knew what I was suggesting, right? Even so, she still ran home. Did this mean, huh? What was going on? At roughly that time, I heard a notification on Lynn. I checked my phone and, huh? Riri.
今日はごめんなさい。代わりに明日、うちに来てくれませんか？
I feel like Rich is gonna misconstrue this. when you brings up that Riri is coming back tomorrow, like, you know, what the hell was going on?
Kakenuke 青春スパーキング
I was still just as confused the following day, but since there were club activities during the day, there was nothing else to do but to go regardless. Oh, and of course, now of all times, she was the very first person I met up with. Morning, Riri.
はい。おはようございます、ゆうくん。
Okay, these reactions are gonna get misconstrued by the group. I couldn't figure out the right time to speak.
入り口で立ってないでよ、お兄ちゃん。私入れないよ。
My bad. Ritsu pushed me on the back, and I stumbled my way into the club room. I had too much momentum and practically nuzzled up to Riri. The scent of her hair wafted lightly in the air, and that rhymed. Sorry. I jumped back in a huge rush.
いえ、こちらこそ。
Riri scratched up, effectively hugging herself. Yeah, fair. She wouldn't want me to touch her after what happened yesterday. But to ask me to come to her place to make up for it. I mean, after our club meeting, right? But why? Especially given how she reacted yesterday. You know... She still wants to do it, it's just that, like... Yeah. Thinking it through made it harder and harder for me to tell how to interact with Riri.
何変な顔してるのよ、ゆう。
Oh, nothing.
そ、ならいいわ。
Yeah. By the way, what are we doing today?
今日は対戦ゲームよ。本体ごと持ってきたわ。
Oh, we haven't done that in a while. Should we get straight into a match then?
望むところよ。けど、あんた私と遊んでていいの？鹿島さんは？
Oh, well, everything should be all right on that front.
あんたがそう言うなら別にいいけどね。何一人でもがいてるの？あ、いえ、なんでもありません。そう。なんかすごい思い詰めた顔してるけど。ひょっとして、当の先輩となんかあったんすか？
No, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all.
何もありませんたら。
That's what I'm saying.
あったのね。あったんすね。鹿島先輩がそう言うなら、しおりちゃんだけは納得してる気がする。
Nothing happened. He really kept a distance from me for the full duration of the club meeting. No, I guess I'm the one who was keeping my distance from her. But still.
それじゃあみんな、また明日ね。はーい。それじゃあお兄ちゃん、帰ろっか。
Actually...
ゆうくん。
hey...
ゆうくん、その、帰りは。
Yeah, I know. Let's go together. So there you have it, Ritsu. Sorry, but...
あれ？別に仲がこじれてたわけじゃないんだ。昨日うまくいかなくて。
Ah, okay. So... or... I guess you mentioned to Ritsu that they didn't do it? Or she just assumed?
違います。そういうのじゃないんです。ただ、ちょっととにかく、これからお兄さんをお借りします。どうぞ。
She had it all wrong. Whatever the case, Riri and I left school together. I'd assumed we're heading to your place.
はい。いらしてください。
Sure. That was about all the conversation we had along the way. From there, at least on my end, I had no idea what to talk about. As for Riri, she just kept speed walking along with a troubled look on her face. She'd struck a wider stride than usual and was in more of a rush. Although her behavior made me feel oddly restless, I followed after her all the same. Thanks for having me. I was led into Riri's room, and I couldn't even begin to imagine what was in store for me here.
とりあえず座ってください。
As you wish. I wound up speaking politely for whatever reason. With that, I took a seat on a cushion. And once I did, Riri sat in a Seiza position across from me. Huh? Why are you sitting like that?
それは、お詫びしなきゃいけないからです。
Apologize? With that, Riri blushed all the way to her ears and...
昨日は本当に、申し訳ありませんでした。
She quickly bowed her head. Enough for her long hair to flutter around her in an exaggerated fashion. No, I'm the one who should be saying that to you. May I ask a question? Why did you...
その前に確認させてください。ゆうくん、昨日は私と、エッチなことをするつもりだったんですよね。
Well, at least she's saying with instead of to. That's a good start. It kind of felt like I'd been put into an awkward position when she asked me that outright. Yes, I'm sorry. All I could do was to be honest, admit it, and apologize. When I did, Ruri practically sprung up and...
謝らないでください。むしろ当然だと思います。私たち、ちゃんと段階踏んできましたし。そうなったら、男の人なら当然、それを意識するのも。ましてやそこで、私が、ああしてやってきたなら、家族のいない、二人っきりの状態なら。
She sympathized with me that much. Then, yesterday, why...
ゆうくんに押し倒されて、初めて、わかったんです。考えが至らなくてごめんなさい。まさか、ゆうくんに求めてもらえるなんて、思ってなくて。
I mean, I never specifically told you beforehand either. Then, Ruri, do you think it's still too soon?
いえ、そんなことはありません。
Even Riri understands that even Riri understands the flaw of the visual novel and realizes that she's a bit too late in terms of she's a bit late in terms of when the thing should have happened, but you know, she's making up for it.
私も意識はしてました。このままなら近いうちに私たちって。
Then.
でも、それがまさか昨日とは思ってなくて。だから下着が、とっておきのじゃなくて。
Underwear?
はい、ゆうくんに喜んでもらえるようなものでは。だから拒んでしまいました。ごめんなさい。
That was her reason. So, it wasn't like she rejected me personally. That was kind of a relief. I see. It was because she wasn't wearing her lucky panties. No, she wasn't wearing the cute ones. I didn't care about that. But yeah, I bet it was important to girls. About the time that crossed my mind.
でも、今日は、大丈夫です。
Ruru whispered quietly. Huh? Does that mean... Ruru hung her head and blushed bright red from the neck up. My heart thundered violently in my chest, almost to the point where I could hear it in my ears. Today was alright. Which meant today. She's wearing underwear she's okay with letting me see. No, that wasn't it. She invited me to her place with the intention of doing those sorts of things with me.
ですね。
Mm-hmm.
今日は、両親、帰ってこないので。
I could tell she had mustered all her courage to say that out loud. Now that she had, Ruri was left speechless. She just hung her head in silence. She stood in place, like she was waiting for something. Riri. She had fully braced herself. All of these preparations were surely because she was waiting for me. Knowing that, there was only one thing for me to do. Riri. I pushed Riri down onto the bed. Gently, unlike yesterday. With consideration for her feelings.
ゆうくん。
Thank you, Riri.
私こそです。 昨日、あんな風にしてしまった私を、それでも求めてくれて。
Of course I want you. I love you, Riri. That much is a given. I pulled her into a tight embrace and gave her a gentle chaste kiss. Chaste? Riri clung to me, lips and all, and coiled her arms around me. This sensation made my mind go numb. My entire body was on fire, and I could tell Riri felt the same, so when our lips parted, I told her, I'm going to do it, okay, Riri?
はい。
Her eyes glistened, and she gave me a tiny nod. I was so elated, I nearly felt dizzy. In the midst of it all, Riri shared that earnest whisper.
私からもさせてください。
Huh?
昨日のお詫びじゃないですけど、ただしてもらうだけじゃ申し訳がないです。
Riri.
それを抜きにしても一緒にしたいです。してもらうだけじゃなくて、手をつなぐのと同じように。
Her feelings sunk deeply into me. Those were most definitely the feelings that had accumulated up until this moment. So I nodded without hesitation. And knowing Riri felt that way about me only made my love for her only made me love her even more. Yeah, I understood. Well then, let's do it together, Riri. Together. Each of us.
はい。ゆうくん、愛し合いたいです。
Riri. We shared another kiss. And like so, we began to show our love for each other. Like so, our dizzying exchange of love was over. I will say this once again. What gives a visual novel the right to make their hate scenes an hour fucking long when a hentai is 20 minutes? Alright? What gives the devs, what gives the writers of this game the right to make their hate scenes 3 times the length? Because it is draining. It is fucking draining. Just having to constantly read this slop of words that spew out of Yu's mouth about how great the sex is. Like, great, get on with it. You took an hour to come. It mustn't have been that good. There's no point. The resources they spent in writing an hour-long hate scene could have easily gone into improving Hibiki's round. But no, they needed to extend the hate scene so that it was as long as one of my episodes. Because why wouldn't it be the length of? Why wouldn't it be an hour long? What they? Jesus fucking Christ, man. This is the main reason why I'm so iffy on, going back and doing the hate scenes of all the games I've streamed, right? With like My Tetsu or Amazing Grace or Ars Magna or Sugar Sweet Temptation, right? And especially My Klutzy Cupid, right? Where it's like, I don't know how long the hate scenes will be, and I'm afraid to find out. Because they just waste your time with these, right? Because, okay, in the eyes of just your regular consumer of erogaze, right? I am the regular person, not reading aloud used lines. I'm just reading them in my head, or potentially even skipping them, and I'm only reading Riri's lines, or whatever the fuck, right? Listening to her lines. And it's like, great. It's hot. And then, you know, it just kept going on and on and on and on and on. And then me with my dick in my hand, I'm like, okay, well, you know, I've either already come and I'm just slogging through the rest of the hate scene, or I've gone soft because there's no substance, right? It's like the only time you can afford to make a hate scene so long is if I have something, if I have stimulus, not in the form of moans, but animation. And 9-9 would be a good example of that. Alright, 9-9 and Nekopara, where they use live 2D models so that they can animate the hate scenes, right? It's a very simple animation, but it goes leaps and bounds beyond still image, right? With slight variations between the image. Fucking Christ, man. That was a 5-minute rant about why long hate scenes are a detriment to a visual novel than a plus, or whatever the opposite of detriment would be in the context. Pluses would be more of a syllable of it. Yes, would detriment. I mean, a plus is more of a syllable to the antonym of. Yeah, you get what I mean. Detriment. Yeah.
Kakenuke 青春スパーキング
The next day, during our club meeting, Riri grimaced unexpectedly. Riri, you don't need to mention the sex last night, alright? You don't need to pull a hibiki, alright? And expose the things you did with you the day after, alright? Just, you know, if they guess that you had sex, don't go into detail. Alright?
どうかした鹿島さん。いえ、大丈夫です。ひょっとして急にあれ、始まっちゃったとか？いえいえ、そういうのではなくて、ちょっと。
It doesn't hurt. I knew what it was. And I was probably the only one in the world who knew. Riri, sit over here.
はい、ありがとうございます。
I beckoned her over and Riri docilely sat down. Oh. Yeah, it hurt. It hurts. It docilely sat down in the seat beside me. She scowled slightly even then. Does it hurt when you sit too? I whispered quietly into her ear so nobody else would hear. When I did, her earlobe flushed bright red.
はい。ごめんなさい。少し。
I see. I'm sorry again for this. All I could do was apologize. She had been fine during and immediately after, but she must have gotten sore later on. Yeah, that's DOMs kicking in, you know? Delayed onset muscle soreness. That made sense. She had bled so much, there was actually no way she wouldn't be hurt. I felt guilty for it, as I had experienced nothing but pure unadulterated pleasure. Yeah, because you weren't penetrated. But Riri
そんな、謝らないでください。
gave that somewhat assertive response in a low voice.
望んで、あなたに捧げたんですから。この痛みだって嬉しいものなんですよ。
So she said, then nuzzled up to me a little.
あなたに初めてを捧げた証拠なんですから。
This felt different from before. It was like some invisible wall had been erected between us. Really? Some invisible wall had been erected between us since we had joined together. In spite of my embarrassment, it makes me happy to hear that, to hear you say that, but the fact of the matter is that I've hurt you.
だったら、
Riri suddenly broke out into a wide smile. Then, at the same time, I felt my hand softly wrapped in warmth. I had learned of this immeasurable sensation during our first date. It was the feeling of Riri's hand. Yes, she was holding my hand under the desk, almost assuredly so that nobody else would see. Well, the problem is they've already seen. They've already seen you two hold hands. Yeah, you weren't aware that they were around when you did it, but you know, doesn't change the fact that they've already seen it.
こうしていてもらえますか？
Then Riri gave me a spellbound smile. Does it hurt less when we hold hands?
わかりませんけど、あなたと触れ合っていたいんです。その、昨日の夜と同じように。
That sent shivers down my spine. Her words and expression had sparked some sort of reaction. It made me think all over again. We definitely had sex. Sure, I get it. Let's stay like this all day today. All I could do was reciprocate with a smile. It was like she was telling me to take responsibility as the man who had taken her virginity. Yeah, you also came inside her, so that's another way you can take responsibility. But that's another thing you can take responsibility for. I won't let go, even if someone spots us. Well, it's definitely one of the better things you could do under the desk as a couple.
ありがとうございます。
You know, there is another thing that Riri could have potentially been holding under the desk. But you didn't go that far, you know. Riri isn't a pervert. Yet. Riri squeezed back tightly. There was more and more heat behind our joined palms. So, like, what are the rest of the members thinking while they do this? Riri sighed as if to relinquish some of that heat.
こうしてると、痛み、やっぱりどっかに行っちゃいます。
Her whisper left me at a loss for words, especially when it was paired with that adorable look on her face. Riri really was an incredibly beautiful woman. I wanted to treasure her. I wanted to hold her dear forever. Which was why I squeezed her hand back and put love into it. She smiled happily in return. My heart felt warm, and I adored her more with each passing second. So,
ああ、二人しておとなしくしてると思ったら、何手なんか握り合ってるのよ。
well, it's holding hands is definitely one of the more safe work thing they one of the more safer work things they could have been doing on the table. Okay, it's fine. We have that kind of relationship. Hibiki interjected, but I was able to issue my own frank remark. I was proud to say that out loud.
ごめんなさい、小日向さん。
And that feeling held even more true when Riri's lips curled into a bright, blissful smile beside me.
ゆうくん、ゆうくん。
On our way home, imagine it's like, I knew it. Kashima, you're jerking off you under the table. That would be awkward. Once the club meeting ended, Riri went out of her way to initiate physical contact. She was currently latched onto my arm, practically jamming her breasts into me. Someone's awfully eager to cling to me today.
暑いですか?
It definitely does make me sweat, but that's fine as long as it doesn't bother you.
嫌なわけないじゃないですか。ゆうくんの汗ですよ。
Yeah, besides, you're already covering each other in each other's sweat last night. Then I'd like you to cuddle up to me too. You can lean in closer. It gave me butterflies. Of course this made me happy. I knew perfectly well it would keep on delighting Riri too. What's more, touching her like this brought me back to what we had done the night before. As long as you don't flash back to it through the CG, with the CG. My girlfriend is so cute, and with such an outstanding figure, and I had sex with her. Yeah, there's the and. I put in the and earlier. There's no way I could possibly be in a bad mood when that randomly popped into my head. In fact, I'd say it put me in a great mood. It very much felt like youth. Right now, I'd say we were enjoying our youths to the fullest.
はい。くっついちゃいます。
When she heard my reply, Riri hugged onto my arm even harder and pressed her chest against me. You're pressing your chest into me about as hard as you can. That's all right with you?
はしたないかもしれませんけど、いいんです。部活中も言った通り、ゆうくんとくっついてれば、痛みがどっか行っちゃいますし。
In that case, you can cling to me as much as you want.
はい。それに、もう、私の全身、ゆうくんのものですから、感じてほしいです。
Riri. Wasn't she just a little too irresistible? Well, I guess the emphasis was on little, so it'd be like, wasn't she just a little too irresistible? I don't know. There were limits to how adorable she could be.
あ、信号赤になっちゃいましたね。待ってる間も、私のことを感じていてください。
Riri added before nuzzling her warm, soft cheek against me. That gave me an unbearable tingle. Riri. I quickly pulled her in close, careful that nobody would see, and gave her a kiss.
ゆうくん。
It's your fault for being so cute.
私のこと、たまらなく好きなんですね、ゆうくん。
Well, yeah. Enough I couldn't stop myself from kissing you.
はい、嬉しい。私も。だから、次はいつエッチしますか?
Riri, this isn't the kind of thing you should be scheduling, alright? I couldn't help but sputter at her random question. Don't ask me that out of the street.
ごめんなさい、つい。でも、お笑いでいきなりキスしてくれた人に言われたくないです。
I mean, that is exactly what happened, but that was when the light just so happened to turn green. We resumed walking. Of course, with her still pressed up against me.
それで、ゆうくん。
I wasn't planning on doing it again, at least not right now.
もう飽きちゃったんですか？私の体。
It's not that. Of course not. To be honest, you're turning me on like crazy right now.
ありがとうございます。嬉しいです。でも、だったらどうして？
Because the person playing this game hasn't quite yet recorded enough for a full episode, and it would be a kick in the balls if he had to sit through another hour-long hate scene just to finish off the hour-long episode for the YouTube and a 3-hour-long Patreon episode. I said something similar to this yesterday, but I want to hold off while you're still in pain. The only time I want you to be in any pain is during your first time.
ゆうくん。
She surprised me with a kiss on the cheek while we were walking. Riri.
さっきのゆうくんと同じです。好きすぎてたまらなくなっちゃったんです。
I see. Knowing that, I really couldn't say anything. To be honest, I was positively over the moon.
わかりました。じゃあ、痛みがなくなったら伝えますね。
Yeah, I'm counting on it.
そうしたら、したくなったらいつでも言ってください。それが彼女の務めだと思いますから。
I could feel her enthusiasm radiating from where we touched. I was sure that was the heat of her desire. In other words, the temperature of her love. The temperature of love. I know I put this own idea into my head, but I thought to myself, that's such a youthful term. Shut up. It was already insufferable when Hiriki kept bringing up youth, and now you is doing the same thing, man.
Kakenuke 青春スパーキング。
The following day, we didn't have a club meeting today. May as well relax and squeeze in a few extra Z's. Then, just as I was dozing off in my futon,
おはようございます。ゆうくん。
that sudden whisper paired with the softness that touched my cheek, made me spring straight up.
元気ですね、ゆうくん。
Riri was smiling sweetly there beside my pillow. Did Riri give me that good morning kiss? Yeah, who else? Who else? Wow, I was happy, grinning even. But, why are you here, Riri?
りっちゃんにあげてもらったんです。
Oh, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the reeds have to stick together. But why so early? I checked the clock, and while I couldn't really call it morning anymore, it was still early in the AM. It felt awfully early to visit someone else's place. Or so I wondered when Riri pumped a fist.
今日、部活がお休みじゃないですか。
Yeah. That's why I was catching up on some sleep.
だから私は今日、ゆうくんのお家の家事を手伝おうと思って。
は？
まあ、嫁入りの予行練習じゃないですけど。それはさすがに言い過ぎですね。恥ずかしい。
You announced your intentions by saying you aren't doing the thing you're doing. So, what's the point in backtracking, you know? Just go fully into it. Just be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing chores because I want you to view me as your wife.
とにかくそういうわけで、家事をやらせてもらいたくて来たんです。りっちゃんにはもう話をつけてあります。一日お世話させてもらえますか、ゆうくん。
You're really doing our housework all day. Even though it wasn't a dry run for marriage. Yeah, it definitely wasn't. What do you mean, isn't that too blissful?
そうですよね。そうですよね。
I was mostly talking to myself when Ruri answered and leaned toward me.
やらせてもらえたら、私もすっごく幸せだなって。
Yeah, it's absolute bliss just to imagine it.
よかった。じゃあ、了承いただけますか？
Yeah, it's fine. Thanks for all your help today. I gave her a big nod. But then,
もう、
when I lifted my head, Ruri looked dissatisfied for some reason. Huh?
了承ください。
Oh, that's what you mean. I mean, I just said thank you.
うん、
It was belated of me, but I figured it out when I saw the look on her face, look in her eyes. Well, her eyes are just two lines, so it's kind of hard to see the look in her eyes. I get it. I have to do this the right way.
はい。
Alright, Rui. Come here.
はい。
Her eyes sparkled and she bounced over in front of me. Then she shut her eyes and raised her chin.
お願いします、ゆうくん。
I grabbed onto Riri's shoulders. Thank you for being here today, Riri. We kissed. With happiness. From the bottom of my heart. The bottom of her heart. It's not the bottom of my heart, it's the bottom of her heart. Riri puckered her lips and accepted my kiss.
了承、確かにいただきました。
You've gotten awfully daring recently. You think? I wonder when that started. As shy and embarrassed as I was, I couldn't help but smile wryly at her. It was no real surprise that Riri also smiled somewhat dryly from embarrassment, but...
もう私知ってますもん。もっとすごいこと教えてもらいましたから。もう好きあらばキスだって求めちゃうんです。
This is the result of every one of those experiences, then.
今日もそうなるといいなって。
Yeah, here's the same for me. So I hope we'll have a great time together, Riri.
はい。
We stared into each other's eyes, smiled happily, and flushed bright red. Wait. Yeah, we stared into each other's eyes, smiled happily, and flushed bright red. So both of them blushed. We'd barely gotten started, and today was already shaping up to be great.
お熱いことで。
Maybe don't walk into your brother's room while his girlfriend is in it. You never know what you might walk into. We jumped up to our feet. Was Ritsu watching that whole time?
二人のラブラブしてるところ久々に見たけど、前よりさらにラブラブになってるね。当たり前かもだけど。
ごめんなさい、りっちゃん。まさか、見られてたなんて、お恥ずかしいです。
Hey, don't spy on us. That's rude. It's also the second time that... This is also the second time Ritsu spied on them.
ドア開けっぱなしだったし。
Well, that wasn't on you, alright? That's on Riri.
あと、鹿島先輩と兄のご飯はどうしようって相談したかったし。
そうでした。ブランチにしちゃうかどうかって。
好きだらけですね、鹿島先輩。ひょっとして、私に見せつけたかったんですか？
そんなことはありません。ただ、私は、りっちゃんのことが、すっかり頭から飛んでしまってて。
That's kind of insulting, considering she's the one who let you in. Ritsu, don't tease Riri too much.
あれ？前兄は結構早く立ち直ったんだね。
I mean, Riri getting this flustered has the opposite effect on me.
あれ？
ごめんなさい、鹿島先輩。ちょっとからかっちゃった。今日はそういう日ですもんね。私のことは気にせずに、思う存分イチャイチャしてください。
Probably not a good idea to encourage their flirting when, they've already had sex. So the chances of them doing it again aren't zero. There is a very likely possibility that they would do it again soon.
りっちゃん。はい。
Okay isn't the right thing to say here. Was my sense of reason going to last? Especially given how this situation was playing out. Well, I was grateful to have Ritsu around in that sense. There was little chance of me pushing Riri down and having my way with her, so long as my sister was around. You say that, but just Ritsu saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be going out shopping. I'll be back in a bit," and that'll give you the go-ahead. All right, that's all I'm saying. It's not gonna stop you from, pushing Riri down and having your way with her. Regardless, Riri was here to help out with the housework today.
まずはお洗濯ですよ。
So that you can sniff used shorts. I did have something I wanted to say before that, though. Riri in an apron is absurdly adorable.
ほんと可愛いね、鹿島先輩。
Absolutely. Hey, don't read my mind.
そんなわかりやすい顔してた兄に言われてもな。
It was only natural for me to look so excited. Look so excited, though. Riri in an apron was top-tier adorable. And you know what would make it even better? If the apron was the only thing she was wearing. I didn't say that. Speaking of how cute she was, Riri was heading to the washing machine in the washroom.
りっちゃん、ここのを洗濯して干せばいいんですよね。
そんな感じです。
かしこまりました。じゃあ早速。
Suddenly, Riri picked up a very intimate piece of clothing. And to be frank, it was my underwear. Right, I had a second inkling. I had an inkling, I mean. I said shorts at the start, but yeah, it's more boxes than shorts. Hold on a second, Riri. You don't have to do that. Talk about obscenely embarrassing. Even more than her seeing me naked. But Riri...
ダメです。これは私がお洗濯させてもらうんです。ゆうくんの パンツ。
Don't. Come on. Don't stare.
でも、普段はりっちゃんに洗濯してもらってるんでしょ？それを、将来の、嫁である私にはさせてくれないなんて。
What a fantastic counter-argument. I couldn't object to that logic. Please and thank you.
はい。では、早速。
As long as you don't sniff them. Especially when Ritsu is around. I told you not to do that. Hey, wait. It's against the rules to sniff them.
すいません。つい、私の大好きなゆうくんの匂いがするのかなーって。
Of course they do. But, I mean, please stop sniffing my underwear. Seriously.
じゃあ、後でお洗濯したご褒美に匂いを嗅がせてくれますか？
But, what's the point in sniffing them after you've finished doing the laundry? Isn't the point of sniffing them when they're used? Because the scent of the person who wore them is infused into the fabric of the underwear until they are washed. So then the scent is no longer infused into the underwear. You know, like how Hibiki, when you wasn't home, masturbated to smelling. I don't remember exactly what she was sniffing, but you know, there was a lot of you smell in his room, specifically coming from his bed. If that's all you want.
だったら今は我慢します。それじゃあ洗剤をセットして。
The way we relayed everything out in the open, like that was a huge problem. As embarrassing as it was, it made me happy to know how. It made me happy to know she loves me. She loves how I smell. Ruri decided to do vacuuming while the laundry machine was running. She's efficient. It's probably a little late for me to ask, but would you like any help?
いえ、ゆうくんはそこで見ていてください。と言いますか、くつろいでいてください。
I'm not sure I can relax, even if you told me to. All said and done, all I could do was watch it and gaze at Riri in her adorable apron. Riri looked like she was in a great mood when she was vacuuming, but ordinarily Ritsu would be the one doing all the vacuuming. Who knew seeing Ritsu do chores would make my heart flutter like this? That was when my eyes met Riri's. Then for some reason, Riri switched off the vacuum. Huh? I questioned what she was up to when she set the vacuum cleaner aside and walked up to me. Squeeze. I wasn't sure why she gently hugged me.
どうしたんですか、ゆうくん。
Oh, I just wasn't expecting it, that's all. Listen, Riri, just because Ritsu gave you the green light to flirt with you as much as you want, doesn't mean you should be this bold in front of Ritsu. It felt great since I was sitting down, and it meant I got to bury my face into her chest. In spite of those thoughts, Riri smiled sweetly at me.
今はお掃除中ですから、ゆうくんの心の中もお掃除です。
I thought she says I will cleanse inside your heart. I thought she was going to, you know, cleanse him in a more physical sense. In terms of bathing him, you know.
なんて。
Riri giggled to try and disguise her bashfulness, but for me, Whoa, what's that? Too cute. That kind of hit me square in the heart. An embrace to cleanse my heart. Cleanse your heart. A hug could only soothe and purify my heart if I believed in her intent behind it. In other words, it was only possible because I trusted that she loved me. Riri.
それも、妻の務めですよ。なんて。
This ridiculous embarrassment was beyond adorable. Damn, what was this lovely life form? Lovely life form.
いいお嫁さんになるね。確実に。
You said it. Hey, don't read my mind again. And also, she's definitely the best qualified. She's the best. She has the most wife material. That's the best way to put it. You know, listen, I've been loving Riri's route, so me thinking that she might not reach first might not be true. It depends, you know? She's definitely climbing up there. She's at least in the top 3 at the moment, you know? And she's only going up from here. The only choke point, not really. The only problem I had in Riri's route at the moment was the H scene, but you know, I had a whole rant on that, so there's no point in me bringing it up again.
だからそんな緩んだ顔で言われてもね。
Go.
りっちゃん、今は私が、旦那様と話してたところなんですよ。
あ、ごめんなさい。小獣とは引っ込んでますよ。
Oh, that's right. If Riri and I were to get married, that would make Ritsu her sister-in-law.
ありがとうございます。
It would also make things very awkward, considering that Riri would have to be living with you, and Ritsu would potentially also be living with you. So, you know, outside of potentially, like, bedtime, I don't know, I'm just saying, Riri and you would have to keep quiet so that they don't wake up Ritsu when they're doing the thing. And the thing.
そういうわけで私、またお部屋のお掃除に行ってきますね。
Especially if they take an hour to do it. Yeah. Although she had cleansed my heart, it was still pounding like crazy. The afternoon was close at hand by the time Riri finished cleaning and doing the laundry.
お昼ご飯作りました。
Oh, what? You made this in between everything else?
そうですよ。
お嬢様育ちなのにやってくれる。
母からみっちり仕込まれましたので、どこに嫁に出しても恥ずかしくないようにと。
I see.
恥ずかしい出来じゃないですよね。
No. It looks ridiculously delicious from what I can see.
まあ、問題は味だよね。私もご相伴に預かります。
はい、どうぞ。召し上がってください。
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the meal. Oh. Yeah, tasty. It's tasty, Riri.
本当に美味しいです。すごいな、カジマ先輩。
The two of us got all excited over it, but
よかったです。
Riri was all smiles as she watched us eat. That was when I noticed that Riri's chopsticks weren't moving. In fact, she didn't even have a plate of her own in front of her.
どうしたんですか?
Well, you sure you're not going to eat, Riri?
私は後でいただきます。今はお二人が 美味しそうに食べてくださるのを見せていただいていたいんです。
Are you sure you're okay with that? I said as I shoveled a spoonful of food into my mouth. When I did, her smile practically overtook her face. And it made me that much happier for it. I'm sure we'll make a good... I'm sure you'll make a good bride someday, not to mention a great mother. I quietly made that remark without giving it a second thought. I could even picture the sight of her happily watching her children eat like this in my head. A blush exploded across Riri's face.
それはさすがにまだ早いです。
Well, he came inside you, so like, it's not an impossibility for it to happen. Yeah, you've got a point. Sorry.
いえ、嬉しいんです。嬉しいんですけど。
マイアニ、それはお母さんにしてあげられる人が言うセリフじゃないよ。
Huh? Now I understood it was practically sexual harassment coming from me. Like I was saying, I want to knock you up. Well, you do, don't you? Just not now. But if Riri did say it made her happy. Bam! Now I was blushing just as much as she was. You can blame Ritsu for that one.
何をやってるんだろうね、この二人は。
She was right. And I had no room to argue at that point. I had no room to argue the point. Well, listen, if Ritsu didn't give Riri the go-ahead to flirt with you, then this wouldn't be happening. Riri eventually relinquished her apron, but
ゆうくん、
later on. What is it?
お茶を入れてきました。
Oh, thank you.
ゆうくん。
If it's the tea, I haven't finished mine yet.
いえ、お洗濯物が乾いたので届けに来ました。
Are you trying to sniff his used ones? You know, the ones on him right now?
ちゃんと愛情込めて畳みましたからね。
Yeah, seriously, thank you.
ゆうくん、
What's up this time?
耳かきとかいかがですか？ゆうくん、歯がしに来ました。ゆうくん、ハグだけじゃ足りなかったら、キスでも。ゆうくん、お風呂の支度ができたので、お背中流します。
Okay, I was joking about the bathing thing, but sure.
ゆうくん、髪の毛乾かしますね。
Oh, I didn't expect him to actually take the bath.
ゆうくん、用はないんですけど、来ちゃいました。
Would you call her thorough? Or that she was opportunistic. Either way, she came into my room to take care of my every need.
私にはここまできめ細やかな世話は焼けない。
Ritsu had been trying to compete with Riri from the get-go, but had finally reached the point where she was forced to admit defeat.
マイアニのことは鹿島先輩にお任せですね。
はい、お任せください。と言っても、まずは今日だけですけど。
Even so, I owe you a ton for everything you've done today.
マイアニ、すっごいしみじみしてるね。
What can I even say? I'm really happy. It was a crazy day. Yeah, the only thing Riri didn't do was fuck you. So much so that I'd been giddy as a schoolgirl since earlier today. You could say I was overwhelmed from the degree of Riri's affections, or that I had been immersed in it. Riri really was going to be a wonderful wife someday, and that felt all the more real after everything that had happened today. Of course, she'll be a wonderful mother too. A mother. Yeah, I did want to make Riri a mum. Sex was currently on hold, but I hope the second time comes sooner or later. Well, I also hope the second time comes sooner rather than later. Maybe make it a bit shorter than an hour next time. It was only natural for my mind to wonder,